Get started with the exclusive Equilife Health Assessment and receive personalized recommendations tailored to your unique health needs. Whether you're struggling with digestion, weight loss, hormone imbalances, or reversing the aging process, we're here to help you discover the real reason why you haven't been able to get well. After completing the assessment or Vitamin Tox lab test, uncover the root cause of your health issues. With ongoing support from elite health coaches and our online community, you'll stay on track. Start your journey to better health today at equi.life. Equilife. Are you ready to take control of your health? At 4U Health, we believe wellness and lab testing should be accessible, inclusive, and yes, fun. With our tech-powered at-home lab test, you save time and money while feeling your best. Say goodbye to long waits and office visits. Check your health on your own terms with 4U Health. Visit 4uhealth.com today and free yourself from traditional medicine. That's the number 4uhealth.com.
When Greg Williams was shot in bed, his wife Michelle called 911 to report an intruder.
My husband was shot. Somebody was in the house. I need an ambulance.
While clearly distraught, Michelle cooperated with authorities at the scene and agreed to go down to the local police station for more questioning.
I know you've given a couple people bits and pieces of what happened, but nobody probably the whole story, so that's probably going to end up being my job.
After the gunshot, I screamed. It was like a reality just hit.
From Dallas, Texas, this is Final Days on Earth, Season 3, The Life and Death of Greg Williams. Episode 3, The Interview. I'm your host, Claire Sanamaw. Thanks for listening. The following episode includes descriptions of a fatal crime scene. Please take care while listening. It's about 6:30 a.m. when Michelle Williams arrives at the Keller Police Department to talk to investigators about the brazen overnight shooting of her husband Greg.
I'm telling you, there was somebody in the house and he hit.
The 40-year-old self-made computer genius was killed in cold blood while lying in bed. After submitting to a gunshot residue test and allowing officers to photograph her facial injury, Michelle starts talking to Keller Police Sergeant John McGrew. A 20-year law enforcement veteran, McGrew is a decorated investigator. But Keller has never been the kind of place where the murder beat gets much action. So Sergeant McGrew is quickly put to an investigative test.
Kind of tell me how the evening transpired all the way up to the incident.
We went to Taylor's choir program at Central Junior High at 7 o'clock. We stayed just long enough to watch her sing. She only did one performance and we're both feeling really sick.
Because she's being interviewed as a witness and not a suspect, Michelle isn't read her Miranda rights at this time. She isn't told she has the right to remain silent or to contact an attorney. And she doesn't hesitate to talk to the sergeant about a variety of topics.
Me and Greg are very late nighters. We stay up sometimes 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, watching shows or whatever.
Before the shooting, Michelle says she dozed off in bed with the TV on.
I fell asleep before he did, and so I don't know
sometime
what time after 1.
The next thing Michelle knows, she's being awakened with a start.
I heard a sound. I get up, and I didn't get past the bedroom door. I opened up the bedroom door, and I got hit by, I still don't know what. I got hit by something.
Michelle describes being hit so hard that it knocks her out for a moment. And when she comes to, everything is still fuzzy.
I could see it was a male in dark stuff, dark clothing, but I couldn't tell you really any details about that. I heard some talking, but I couldn't tell what it was, and I'm trying to wrap my head around it, but it was very, very country. And that just struck me really funny because we just don't know country. I can't think of, it was so Bubba. And I don't know if Greg responded. I know Greg was moving, but I was down. It knocked me out long enough to know that it got real fuzzy at that point. I heard, which I didn't realize was a gunshot at that moment, and he ran out the back door, which he struggled with. It was locked. I know it was locked. I locked down the house like crazy every night.
After the shooter fled, Michelle says she made her way over to Greg on her hands and knees.
I crawled over to Greg. I grabbed a hold of his hand, and I felt blood running down the bed. And I looked at him and called 911.
The 911 call came in at 4:40 a.m., and it's one of the few data points from the chaotic early morning events.
The lady on the phone kept telling me, go outside, and I kept telling her I can't go outside. I got the baby in the house, and I need an ambulance. And I went to the front door, but then I kept coming back in to look at both of them to make sure that nobody was coming back in the house. It just all happened so quick.
And that's why I want to try to talk to you. And basically what we say is initial statement, and then give you a minute to think and relax and calm down.
After letting Michelle speak pretty freely, Sergeant McGrew redirects her attention to a key detail, the murder weapon. It's a .45 caliber pistol, a Les Baer, and it's registered to Greg Williams.
I know very little about guns, but he was very proud of it. We bought it a couple of years ago.
Shot the Les Baer before?
One time, a year or two ago, Greg let me try it. And I really suck at it. And the joke always was it was a sexy gun. And that's what I say. So you can't shoot it, but it looks good in your hand.
Michelle says Greg always kept his gun loaded in a bag underneath his nightstand, ready for action at a moment's notice.
Greg's very cautious, very suspicious. He doesn't trust cops. He doesn't trust people. Him and his ex-wife fight a lot. They really fight bad. He pisses off people all the time. And many times we said, yeah, you can sleep with one eye open. You know, it was always a joke. It was never serious.
Sergeant McGrew asks Michelle about the security system at their house, but Michelle tells him they never activated it.
Everything, when we rented, we knew it was temporary, but he still kept saying, I really need to set security.
So temporary, in fact, that Michelle and Greg were already in the process of moving out. They were going to close on a new house, their dream home, the very next day. Sergeant McGrew hones in on the timing.
I know it's personal, but I have to ask, I mean, what about financial, no problems, y'all are doing good business-wise?
Yeah,
okay.
We're doing excellent.
No problem with debts or anything like that?
No, we're doing very well financially.
By all accounts, this appeared to be true. Paperwork related to the mortgage for Greg and Michelle's new home showed the couple had around $140,000 in a savings account, and Greg was taking home $400,000 a year from his IT company.
He was really excited because we just got our final head statement in, and he printed it out so we could talk about the exciting things about closing on the house. So we are supposed to close tomorrow on the house.
The two most common reasons to kill anyone are love and money. So naturally, the investigator was interested in Greg and Michelle's relationship.
Not a comfortable question to ask about personal finances and marital situations, but I have to do that. Unfortunately, that's part of my job.
Michelle and Greg had been together for about 5 years and married for 3.
We've both been divorced twice, so we wanted to be sure before we got married.
Understand that?
And this was for real.
He's not worried about you potentially having an affair. There's never been a question or problem about that.
No.
Infidelity either way, no questions or things. I mean, obviously, y'all are together, sounds like pretty much 20
Yeah, we
pretty much.
are almost 99% of the time side by side. So that takes that whole fear out of a relationship.
At this point, Michelle has been talking to Sergeant McGrew for about an hour, and he steps out of the room to get some much-needed information from investigators still combing through the scene of the shooting. Before he leaves, Michelle asks a question in a whisper. "Will you tell me if Greg's dead?" Back in the interview room, Michelle makes small talk with the female officer who remains. The audio quality isn't great, but Michelle tells the officer that Greg didn't trust the police and that he wouldn't want her talking without a lawyer present. When Sergeant McGrew re-enters the room, he cuts right to the chase.
There's not much I can say in this. Greg's deceased.
Michelle comes unglued, and Sergeant McGrew gives her some space, at first.
I wanted to apologize and give you my condolences, but obviously, you know how these things work, and a lot of times in the first, 24, 48 hours is the most crucial for us. I've got to really get on this and get the details and try to get something out as quick as possible to try to help us catch the offender.
Sergeant McGrew goes back through Michelle's version of events, pausing on the moment Michelle says she was awakened by a noise, sometime around 4 a.m.
Close your eyes and think. If you had to describe the noise you thought you heard, it got you to get up and go out, leave the room. What would you think that would be?
Maybe a door.
They said the volume was turned up real loud in the bedroom. So one of my concerns is, how did you hear that over the TV? They said, it was blaring.
Michelle claims it was her mother's intuition that woke her up.
Over time, your mind as a mom really does listen.
However unlikely the explanation, Sergeant McGrew doesn't press it, and instead he grabs a pad of paper and sketches the bedroom where Greg was shot. He asks Michelle to weigh in on the drawing and starts to paint her into a corner. Michelle says the shooter was standing at the foot of the bed before she heard a gunshot.
A male in dark clothing with a country accent.
Right.
Standing here at the foot of the bed.
Right.
But the entry wound into Greg's head isn't straight on. It's on the right temple, the same side of the bed where Michelle would have been lying down next to him.
Also, it appears it might have went through a blanket, whether like a blanket or something might have been used to muffle the sound.
Sergeant McGrew doesn't point out the other discrepancy in Michelle's expanded version of events, that she originally claimed to have been struck with enough force to be knocked out before getting a good look at the scene. Hey, it's Claire Sanema, host of Final Days on Earth. Have you ever signed up for something and then totally forgotten about it? I just learned that 85% of people have at least one paid subscription going unused each month. Thanks to Rocket Money, I can see all my subscriptions in one place and cancel the ones I'm not using anymore. And now, I'm saving money. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps you find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/finaldays today. That's rocketmoney.com/finaldays. rocketmoney.com/finaldays.
BizChair.com, your one-stop shop for premium commercial furniture that blends quality with affordability. From ergonomic office chairs to durable restaurant seating, we cater to diverse industries including corporate, medical, hospitality, and education. With over 20 years of experience, we offer fast shipping, exceptional customer support, and furniture solutions that stand up to high-traffic environment. Elevate your space with BizChair's vast selection of stylish, reliable, and cost-effective furniture. Visit us today at BizChair.com to transform your business.
A, you have to be honest with me and tell me anything else that's going on, any other details that you can think of, because basically what information we're getting right now doesn't match up with the scene.
The investigator wants to know how the killer got in and out of the house without leaving a single trace.
There's no signs of forced entry, which means we can't find anywhere anybody broke into the house. So the question is, how did someone access the house? That's first of all. Normally people do one or two things when they break into houses that are occupied. Home invasion, where they plan on going in gunpoint or taking them, as hostage type thing, or tying them up, doing something, robbing them or whatever.
One of the biggest conundrums in Greg's murder is why the shooter would need to use Greg's own gun.
If I'm a bad guy and I break into your house to intentionally harm you or your husband, then they would have come in the room, they'd have been prepared to do that, they'd have brought something to do it.
Michelle tries to come up with a reasonable explanation for how or why an unknown intruder would sneak into their home and kill Greg with his own gun.
I'm just reaching for possibilities. I have a hide-a-key outside.
Sergeant McGrew is unconvinced.
And here's the deal. Normally, if an actor is going to go in, find a firearm in the victim's home, shoot somebody, and flee, they're going to take the firearm with them. Laying by the back door. And it looks like it may have been wiped clean.
But that's not all investigators found laying out in a curious position.
Also, next to the door, they found a long wrench. I believe might have been what struck you.
While her story is struggling to pass the litmus test, the injury on Michelle's face is very much real. But how did it get there, and what caused it? Sergeant McGrew isn't all that concerned with the specifics of Michelle's injury. After all, what's a black eye compared to a dead body? At this point, Sergeant McGrew has been listening to Michelle's unlikely intruder theory for hours, and he's finally ready to call BS on it.
You see, we're trying to figure out, we'll put these pieces of the puzzle together.
McGrew narrowed down Michelle's options.
But what I've got at the scene, either his is self-inflicted and you covered it up, or there's potential that you may be involved.
I did not hurt my husband, and he did not hurt himself.
Okay.
There was a man in my house.
Right temple impact. So it had to be fired from this direction, which is your side of the bed. So all I can do is ask you one time point blank. So he didn't self-inflict any bodily harm to himself, and you didn't try to cover it up?
No.
And you don't have a clue about how that stuff got in those positions by the door or anything like that then?
No, I have no clue.
And you know how these cases go. I mean, the only other thing that could have happened, honestly, could have happened, is if you might have done it. In my opinion, through 21 years, what I can see here, what little knowledge I have, that's all I can say one of the two things would have happened. One of those two things, Michelle.
Not hurt my husband.
Ma'am?
I did not hurt my husband. There was somebody else there. There was somebody else in the house. I'm telling you, there was somebody in the house and he hit me.
At this point, Michelle goes down a hypothetical rabbit hole, trying to absolve herself.
What if? What if?
Mm-hmm. What if?
What if he wanted to kill himself? I know he didn't. I know. What if he wanted help?
What if he wanted help? So you're saying that you think Greg might have set this up, done it to himself, and the man might have helped cover it up? That's what you're saying?
I'm reaching, yes, but I'm asking. I mean...
Michelle's getting desperate, and she raises her voice at the sergeant.
I did not hurt my husband. I did not cover at the scene.
Hey.
I've just been told my husband is dead. I got hit. My daughter is not with me. This is very stressful.
Shortly after this, Sergeant McGrew steps out of the room again, and when he comes back, he's armed with new information. This time, it's about the canine unit that was dispatched to the crime scene.
They didn't put a dog in your backyard, didn't track anything. So nobody in or out of those doors went out of the backyard. It will track it. That dog is exceptional. So I'm sorry, unless the visible ghost came in that back door and came in your house and went out that other back door, nobody was there.
Detectives also had time to study the pry marks on the back door, and they learned a key fact.
Talking to the crime scene investigator, the only way those pry marks could have been put on that door, the door would have been open, not closed when it was done. You've got to be honest with me here. I mean, those facts and everything, Michelle, don't add up. Okay, that stuff laying by the door doesn't add up. Now I have even more reason to believe that something else occurred. So you're gonna have to sit there and tell me what happened. Okay, because there's no way that could have occurred that way. No way in God's green earth that could have occurred that way. So you need to tell me if he self-inflicted it. You need to tell me. I mean, this is it. I don't, we're getting the wits end. You've got to be honest with Michelle. If he did it and you covered it up, just tell me. Huh?
Did you catch that? It's barely audible because Michelle is speaking so softly, but she says twice, he did it. After 3.5 hours of questioning, Michelle finally takes hold of Sergeant McGrew's theory that Greg killed himself and she merely covered it up.
You want to tell me the story of what really happened now?
For the first time since the ordeal began, it appears that Michelle could be telling the truth.
I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. I had to do this major impromptu within seconds.
Michelle explains that after Greg shot himself, she cleaned the gun and staged the scene to protect their daughter.
I couldn't let her know this. I took some Clorox wipes. I used Clorox wipes all over my house. And I knew I had already cleaned up the whole house, so I knew it smelled like Clorox.
Michelle says she wiped Greg's hands and the murder weapon before drying them off with toilet paper and flushing all the evidence down the toilet.
I had to figure out what to do at that point. And I wiped the gun with the blanket that he had right there.
As Michelle describes how she staged the scene, her voice is so soft. She's barely audible as she says, I opened the door up, put the gun by the door, because if it was sitting by him, of course, it wouldn't look good.
I opened the door up, put the gun by the door, because if it was sitting by him, of course it would.
Michelle now tries to explain why she positioned a wrench next to the gun.
And then I started to really panic because okay, now what do I do with that? So the gun's over there. I knew I had to make it look as if it was a burglary, so I opened up that door.
And to really sell her story, she hit herself in the face with the wrench.
That was just a very spur-of-the-moment coincidental thought of there has to be some kind of weapon there. In order to make some sense, I had to have an injury. So I had to make it look like I caught him off guard coming out. But like I said, I went like that thinking I'll just have a little bruise, and that really backfired bad. And I just stunned myself, and I stunned myself too hard.
What's that, wrench?
With the wrench.
It's been over 4 hours since Michelle Williams first walked into the Keller Police Department as a witness to her husband's death. Now, she's being read her rights.
What occurred, okay, is called tampering with evidence. You're not being arrested and charged with it, but because it is a criminal offense, I have to read you your rights and explain those to you first, okay? Our main concern is the truth, what happened. That's the whole thing.
So I'm not arrested.
You're going home.
On the next episode of Final Days on Earth, the life and death of Greg Williams.
I don't care what anybody says. Scenes don't lie. People lie, scenes don't.
Would this version of Michelle's story hold water? We'll go through the timeline of Greg's case and shed new light on complicated family relationships, including another death in Michelle's orbit.
I gotta tell my daughter sometime today that Daddy's not coming back. And she had such a hard time hearing about Uncle Brent, who she loved so much.
Final Days on Earth is produced in Dallas, Texas for Rebel Studios. Each episode is reported and written by me, Claire Sanema, and Susan Passoni. Original theme music composed and performed by Riley Simmons. Additional music licensed from PremiumBeat.com is Bending Truth and A Thin Line. If you have any information about the cases I cover, please get in touch through my website, finaldaysonearth.com. If you want to support this show, please rate and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening right now.
UTIs are the worst. I've been there. One year, I had 8 UTIs. If you get UTIs, then you understand how awful the cycle can be. I was taking all the precautions, and cranberry products, they just never worked for me. I was desperate for a way to be proactive. It was hard on me and on my husband.
It was tough to see her in pain, and I wanted to help.
I'm Jenna.
And I'm Spencer.
With Spencer's background in biochemistry
and our shared frustration when it came to UTIs, we were inspired to start Eucora.
At Eucora, we make innovative urinary tract supplements and UTI relief products. Our effective urinary tract supplements finally give you a way to be proactive.
Feel like you've tried everything? We get it. We have a money-back guarantee so you can try risk-free. If you're not happy, you'll get a full refund.
We're on a mission to help women get their lives back. Ready to join them?
Get 30% off Eucora when you go to eucora.com/audio. That's UQORA.com/audio.